reflection on the King James Bible, one of the most enduring translations of God's Word. In this session, we'll explore three powerful verses from different books of the Bible: Joshua, 2 Kings, and Acts. These verses span different periods of Israel's history and offer insights into faith, leadership, and obedience. Let's begin with our first passage. In the book of Joshua, chapter 11, verse 15, we read, "As the Lord commanded Moses his servant, so did Moses command Joshua, and so did Joshua. He left nothing undone of all that the Lord commanded Moses." This verse comes at the end of the account of Joshua's military conquests. Joshua has led the Israelites to victory over the kings of the north, fulfilling God's promise to his people. The key phrase here is, "He left nothing undone of all that the Lord commanded Moses." Joshua's obedience to God's commands is exemplary. He follows God's direction to the letter, illustrating the importance of faithfulness and diligence in following God's will. This moment highlights the strong leadership of Joshua, who, under Moses' guidance, carried out the divine commands with absolute commitment. What can we take from this today? It reminds us of the importance of obedience in our own lives. Just as Joshua acted in obedience to God's commands, we are called to trust and obey the will of the Lord, even when the path ahead seems unclear. Our second verse comes from the book of 2 Kings, chapter 18, verse 6. "For he clave to the Lord and departed not from following him, but kept his commandments, which the Lord commanded Moses." This verse speaks of King Hezekiah, one of Judah's most righteous kings. Hezekiah was a man who, despite the trials and temptations of ruling a nation, remained steadfast in his faith in God. He clave to the Lord, meaning he held fast to God with unwavering devotion, and departed not from following him. This is a profound example of spiritual loyalty and leadership. Like Joshua, Hezekiah's obedience to God is central to his legacy. His reign stands as a testament to the blessings that come from staying true to God's commandments. Even when faced with the impending threat of the Assyrian Empire, Hezekiah trusted in God's protection rather than relying on human power or alliances. This teaches us that in our personal lives, loyalty to God must be unwavering, no matter what pressures we face. Now we turn to the New Testament, to the book of Acts, chapter 26, verse 19. This is part of the Apostle Paul's testimony before King Agrippa. "Whereupon, O King Agrippa, I was not disobedient unto the heavenly vision." Here, Paul is recounting how he responded to God's call on his life. After his dramatic conversion on the road to Damascus, Paul's life was forever changed. The vision of Christ, calling him to be an apostle to the Gentiles, changed everything for him. Paul's words, "I was not disobedient unto the heavenly vision," reflect his commitment to following God's call with courage and determination. This passage speaks to the power of personal conviction and the radical transformation that can take place when someone submits fully to God's will. Paul's boldness in his faith was not without opposition, yet his commitment to God's mission never wavered. In our lives, we too can encounter moments of divine calling or inspiration. Like Paul, we must not be disobedient to the visions and revelations God gives us. Whether it's a call to serve, to speak, or to act in some way, we are reminded through Paul's testimony that following God's direction often requires great faith and perseverance. So what do we learn from these three verses? Joshua, Hezekiah, and Paul, each of them models for us the key virtue of obedience. Whether leading armies, ruling nations, or spreading the gospel, they stayed true to God's commands and call on their lives. In a world full of distractions and challenges, their example reminds us of the importance of staying faithful to the path God sets before us. As we conclude, let's ask ourselves, how can we better obey God's commands? Are we cleaving to Him as Hezekiah did? Are we answering His call as Paul did? Thank you for joining us today as we reflect on these verses from the King James Bible. May you find strength and encouragement in these words, and may your own journey of faith be one of obedience, trust, and unwavering devotion to the Lord.